Hi, this is Kristen here. Welcome to another process video, and today I'm working on a layout for 31 days of cut files. This is hosted by Some Assemblage Required, and I purchased the cut files from Some Assemblage Required. So all of the cut files that you see from me for the next several days to weeks will be from Some Assemblage Required. I usually am one to back my cut files with pattern paper, but I wanted to really challenge myself this month and try to use some mixed media. So I'm essentially using this cut file as kind of a stencil. I am using stencil butter from the Crafters Workshop. Purchased that off of Amazon. They had a little bit of a deal on them, so I went ahead and grabbed some because I wanted to try it out. And so the first color that I spread on there was fuchsia. The second is called watermelon. And then the next one that I'm spreading on is pink lemonade. The orange color is marigold. And these came in packs of 4. They're smaller containers, I think 2-ounce containers. I think you can get stencil butter in like bigger containers, but because I was trying it out, I didn't want to get like big jars of it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. This color is called gamboge, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. This color is called summer sky. I have to say I really like how smooth it is to put the stencil butter on. It was really easy to work with. This color here is called orchid. I was okay if like some of the colors mixed and all that. I wasn't like super concerned about that. This color is called hydrangea. Because again, I was playing around with this, so I was like, it's not going to be perfect. I'm okay with that. And I realized, like, kind of as I was starting to get the colors spread, I realized that there were going to be 2 spots here where I wasn't going to be able to alternate the colors. I should have picked out at least one more color, and I didn't realize that until I had gotten underway. So I do end up putting 2 more colors side by side that are pretty close in color, but you won't really see them. So this color is sea glass, and then the next one is stormy. And so I'm done getting the stencil butter on. I was really hoping that it didn't dry super fast so that I could peel off that piece. I pretty much was able to pull it off intact, so I set it aside to dry, so I might end up using that on a future project. And so I went ahead and fussy cut out, well, I don't want to really say fussy cut, I just cut out the circle part of that. And then I picked out a Vicki Boutin paper that, I don't know if this was from Discover and Create, but it was one of her older lines, I believe. And I liked the rainbow behind it. I was a little hesitant to use it because I'm like, I hate to cover that up, but really, quite honestly, because the stencil butter had kind of that rainbow look to it, I kept trying to put it on different backgrounds, on just plain white background, and it just really looked good with this. So I was like, you know what, it's paper, I have to use it, otherwise it's just sitting on a shelf. And I do plenty of layouts with like rainbows, you know, as my main kind of scene, I guess, behind a layout. So, and I am documenting this silly picture of my son. He was Snapchat filter, and it ended up the Snapchat filter was obviously a clown. So I thought that went perfectly with the color scheme of this. Plus, I think a lot of Vicki Boutin's pieces, her ephemera pieces, can be, you know, kind of wacky and silly and, you know, just kind of fun. So I felt like since I was kind of playing around with that stencil butter and was using her paper, I'm like, let's just kind of make it a wacky, fun layout. And so I'm going to start pulling out some ephemera pieces. Now these are pieces, some of them are from cut and paste. I've got some that I had purchased from Hobby Lobby. So I actually ended up just throwing all of hers, except for Flower Emporium. I did keep that one separate. But most of her ephemera, I kind of have tossed them all in a bin together because I feel like a lot of her stuff is very interchangeable between the different collections that she's come out with. So I feel like you can mix and match a lot of her collections and they work fine together. So, and I'm just pulling in pieces that I like. I mean, I pull in an orange slice. I'm like, he's not eating an orange, but because, you know, it was the shape of the stencil was kind of, you know, circular and kind of reminded me of a little bit of a pie or, you know, slices. I felt like that went fine there. And then I picked out Happy Soul as my title because this kid, he is just light and positivity and just, he is such a funny kid. And then I end up picking this phrase word out. It was kind of a longer piece, so I do decide to cut it in half. So then that way I can not have it be as long going across the bottom there. And then these, I pick out 3 of these floral pieces. Again, I don't know if those are from cut and paste or they kind of look like maybe from cut and paste. But again, I feel like a lot of her stuff is very interchangeable. So I find like unless I kept it separated, I would kind of have a hard time telling what is what. This little arrow says, love this. I decided to put the crayons there that says color outside the lines because I kind of did flip a few of those stencil butters to where they're kind of like, you know, kind of melded together and some of them kind of went in on each other. But, and then on top of that, because he had that, you know, that funny clown wig and the Snapchat filter, I just thought that kind of went with that. I'm going to get 3 of these flowers. So I'm kind of doing a cluster of 3 along with my title. And so I decided to work in a floral piece on each of the clusters. I like these flags initially. I don't know if I end up getting those worked in. I can't remember. I think when I started getting this together, I kind of shifted things around and so again, nothing is glued down here. I always will mock things up, kind of make sure that I like it according to my eye before I glue anything down. And this typically does take me, it does take me a long time to do layouts. Layouts usually take me at least typically an hour and a half to 2 hours, sometimes 3. I think it took me about an hour, maybe a little over an hour to do this one, minus the stencil butter and the dry time for it. So. But I think I really only let it dry for like a few hours and I was able to come back to it later that night and start working with it. These little circular pieces, I think came from cut and paste, if I'm not mistaken. And they have gold foiling around them and kind of like, you know, different colors in the circles. And I felt like that, I was kind of going with a lot of circular type pieces just because I kind of playing off the circular die cut in the background. I did pick out that camera too to kind of peek out up there since it was, you know, technically kind of a selfie. And then at this point, I'd gotten pretty much everything glued down. I went off camera and did that just to spare you from having to watch that painful process of me gluing everything down. I do add these little heart pieces. I don't know if I had those on originally when I was looking through the ephemera, but and then I found some butterflies. Even though there's not really like a reason to put butterflies on here, is there never a reason to not put butterflies on a layout? I always will use butterflies or florals as kind of like a filler. And I just thought they looked pretty. So I tend to be a pretty themed scrapbooker. So like, you know, if I had a bunch of clowns, like I would have probably somehow figured out a way to get those, but that's not normally something you see in a lot of scrapbooking pieces. And on top of that, you know, sometimes you can get a little too themey with stuff, so I really feel like this turned out really well. And again, got me out of my comfort zone with doing mixed media and the stencil butter. Look how pretty that is. It's got like this really pretty shine to it. So this is obviously from Cut and Paste. I definitely recognize this. This was a foam sticker set. So I'm just adding some of these little gold foil. They're just like little gold foil circles, just kind of scattered around the page just to add a little bit more dimension, depth, a little bit something different. And I think this says laugh a lot or laugh lots or something like that. So I decided to kind of put that off to the side of the happy soul because he makes me laugh a ton. Now these are little puffy stickers from Cut and Paste. So I'm going to work in a few of these. That little orange piece says the best. I also work in a couple stars. And then there's like some like little arrow pieces that I end up getting worked in there as well. So here comes those little arrow pieces I was talking about. And here is the finished layout. So you can see the really pretty shine off that stencil butter. I just felt like it played really well off of Vicki's mixed media looking paper there. And here are a few more close-up shots. I will include the information down below for Some Assemblage Required, so if you would like to play along. And I thank you for coming by to watch another process video.